Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're venturing into a really captivating area of modern storytelling. We're talking about tales of things and even people just vanishing.
Yeah, not just, individuals slipping away quietly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But entire vehicles, whole groups sometimes, leaving behind basically nothing but this sense of mystery.
And you, our listeners, sent in a fantastic collection of sources on this. It really sparked our interest.
Totally. We've got to look at some, well, historical oddities from a blog that covers bizarre tales, a classic Snopes debunking of a really famous legend.
Ah, the Vanishing Hitchhiker, I bet?
You got it. And also a dive into a Reddit thread talking about a genuinely unsettling, more modern yarn.
So our mission today, I guess, is to unpack these vanishing stories.
Yep. See what connects them, figure out maybe why these kinds of stories really stick with us.
Right. We're sort of becoming armchair folklorists today, looking at these modern myths through the stuff you shared. It's pretty amazing how they endure, isn't it? Even the fantastical ones.
Okay, so let's begin. Let's unpack a real classic, The Vanishing Hitchhiker. The basic idea is simple, right?
Yeah, driver picks up a stranger.
And then, poof, the stranger disappears. Usually with some kind of spooky explanation.
But that history blog you mentioned, it kicks things off with a really interesting early version, almost the opposite of the usual story.
Exactly. That's what grabbed me. This
Yep.
South Kensington vicar, London, gets called out by this agitated lady in a taxi
Mm-hmm.
to help a dying man.
Okay.
He gets to the house, turns around to thank her.
Mm-hmm.
She's gone. The lady in the cab vanished completely.
Whoa. So wait, she was the ghost? Or the driver?
Well, here's the twist.
Yeah.
It turns out the lady was the deceased wife of the man inside. Died 15 years earlier.
No way.
So in this early version, it's almost like the driver and the cab are the phantoms facilitating this intervention.
That's fascinating. The blog connects it to older traditions, right? Ghostly help for a good death.
Yeah, exactly. It fits that older pattern, saints, angels, that kind of thing.
It makes sense, a sort of benevolent, supernatural intervention. And the blog author suggests it got flipped over time.
Right. Easier to maybe imagine the passenger being the ghost in a more, conventional, spooky story.
Which brings us neatly to the version Snopes looked at, the more common one. Passenger as the ghost.
Yes, but Snopes highlights this really specific variant, the prophetic vanishing hitchhiker.
Ah, right. Not just spooky, but they deliver a message before they disappear.
Precisely. And Snopes lists some pretty dramatic examples.
Like what?
Things like, my lips are near the trumpet, implying they're the Archangel Gabriel.
Okay, wow. Heavy stuff.
Or just straight up, the end of the world. Jesus is coming soon. Even predictions about harvests, wars, or like a disaster before an election.
All sorts of things. And isn't there that common element where the driver reports it?
Yes. This is the really interesting bit. The driver, totally baffled, goes to the police or someone.
And they're told.
You're not the first one today, or this week. Someone else reported the exact same thing.
Right. That detail is crucial, isn't it? It adds this layer of, well, it makes it seem more real, less like one person's weird experience.
It suggests something bigger, something inexplicable happening.
Definitely a key ingredient in urban legends, that shared experience thing, even without proof. It taps into how we trust others' accounts.
Snopes mentions that Pearl Harbor prophecy example, too. Woman predicts a body in the car, Hitler dead in 6 months.
It really shows that human need for meaning, especially in scary times, doesn't it? Trying to find some pattern or warning.
Absolutely. And Snopes traces the archetype way back, biblical, mythological precursors.
Yeah, like the Olympians in disguise, angels visiting Lot.
Jesus on the road to Emmaus, Philip, and the Ethiopian in Acts, where Philip just vanishes.
Right, so this isn't just a modern thing that popped up out of nowhere.
But not at all. It's a deep old motif. The divine messenger, the otherworldly being appearing, then disappearing.
And Snopes suggests it endures because it speaks to our anxieties, especially the prophetic ones.
Seems like it. Maybe offers some weird comfort, reinforces beliefs, or suggests a hidden plan, even when things feel chaotic.
Okay, so we've covered the vanishing passenger, but what about the vehicle itself disappearing?
Right, the history blog connects this too, calls it the hitchhiker legend turned on its head.
And they used that London Phantom taxi story as the prime example.
Yeah, the agitated lady, the vicar, the journey, and then poof, lady in taxi gone.
Yeah.
And the reveal that she was the dead wife, it amps up the supernatural.
It's a neat twist, but keeps that core vanishing element.
But the blog also touches on a more modern version, the urban legend of a ghost car disappearing during a police chase. caught on film, supposedly.
Ah, okay. So the legend adapts to modern tech. Police chases, video.
Exactly. Though the blog mentions it was apparently debunked, something about a TV show.
Yeah, I think it did. The show suggested the car just slipped under a fence and the police car lost sight for a second.
Right, the mundane explanation versus the spooky one. Always that tension.
So, single things vanishing people. Cars, that's got a long history. But what about whole groups? That feels different, darker.
That leads us to the Vanishing Class legends.
Yeah.
More recent and, yeah, really unsettling.
This is where it gets genuinely disturbing, I think. Not one person, but a whole class just gone.
The article we looked at outlined some common themes, motifs.
Like the bus found years later in the woods with just remains.
Oh, yeah, or sinking into quicksand, the sinkhole.
Or even weirder stuff like time slips or portals.
A whole spectrum of awful possibilities. And the article focuses on that class of 1999 story that's been doing the rounds online.
Right, but the key thing there is the total lack of evidence, isn't it?
Completely. No school records, no news reports from 99, no police files, nothing.
It just seems to exist online.
And it's not alone. That Reddit thread we saw discusses a similar 1988 missing class yarn.
And again, people on Reddit are pointing out, where's the proof? No citations, nothing credible.
Yeah, there's a whole debate in the thread, but the consensus seems to be it's probably fake.
The Reddit thread is pretty revealing about how these things spread and get picked apart online. Someone mentioned a TikTok video.
Oh, yeah, but it's full of contradictions, right? The cause kept changing. The teacher's name,
Yeah.
who escaped.
Total mess. And crucially, no news articles backing it up. The user basically concluded, hoax.
Someone on Reddit even remembered a documentary but thought it might be about a buried school bus, which sounds like another legend entirely.
It probably is. And I liked the simple logic check someone did.
The age thing.
Yeah. If a class vanished in '88, the kids would be in their mid to late 40s now. So an elderly woman claiming to be a survivor in a recent video makes no sense.
Simple math debunks it. And then the final nail in the coffin for the 99 story, according to Reddit.
Someone found it's actually a work of fiction, The Classroom That Disappeared by Ziad Kadash.
Bingo. Not real. And that photo is supposedly showing the 88 class.
Don't tell me.
From the 1800s.
Oh, come on. That's just lazy hoaxing.
Pretty definitive, yeah. But it's still interesting how this vanishing class idea fits into that bigger group vanished folklore category. The fear shifts from the individual to the collective.
Definitely. So, looking across all these hitchhiker, car, classes, what are the common threads holding them together?
Well, a few things stand out. Obviously, the central mystery, the sudden, unexplained disappearance.
And the lack of solid proof. Always anecdotal, right? Friend of a friend stuff.
Exactly. And the role of vehicles seems pretty key in the modern ones. Cars, buses, familiar things becoming sites of the uncanny.
Good point. Their everyday objects turn strange.
Plus, there's usually that shocking twist at the end, isn't there? The ghost reveal, a whole class gone. It makes the story stick.
And ultimately, they seem to tap into some deep anxieties we have.
Fear of travel, the unknown.
Yeah, and maybe just the fragility of life. How things can suddenly change, loss can happen without explanation.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up, our deep dive today. Well, these stories are captivating, no doubt, and they keep popping up in new ways, like the class of 99 online.
But the evidence we looked at points strongly towards folklore, not fact.
Right. Vanishing hitchhiker, deep roots, lots of variations. Vanishing car, spooky twist on the theme. Vanishing class, seems like a modern creepypasta playing on those same fears.
That distinction feels important. The appeal is real, but the factual basis just isn't there in the sources we saw.
So on that note, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Why these scenarios? The lonely driver, the familiar car, the supposedly safe school group. Why do they become such fertile ground for these really enduring, unsettling tales?
What does our fascination with them say about us?
Exactly. What does it reveal about our hopes, our fears? How we try to make sense of a world that sometimes feels, well, inexplicable. Something to ponder until our next deep dive.